My name's Ryan Mayer, and I want to welcome you to the More Than ADHD podcast, episode 35. Today's topic is a secret. The secret of starting. Why is it so hard? Today, we're going to be talking about the secret to getting started. In other words, how to break down projects so that you'll actually finish them. Hey, Coach Ryan here. Quick question for you. Have you ever been staring at a project, stuck, spinning, and not know where to begin? You're not alone. You should check out this episode. There's lots of reasons that you should tune into this episode, but not the least of which, here's my promise. Make sure to tune into this episode if you want to learn a step-by-step framework to break down any project to make it more doable. We are so glad that you're here. And if this is your first time, be sure to like, subscribe, share this with somebody who you think might need it. And you can also graze across that notification button if you want to be the first in the know about when the new stuff comes out. Hey, before we dive in, make sure to visit my website so you can grab your free copy of How to Conquer Your ADHD. It's one of our free resources. That's ryanmayercoaching.com/resources. It's packed with tools and tips for you to actually apply today to help making progress. Whenever I put on my ADHD cap, or whenever any of us do, we are always so good at thinking of the big ideas, the visionaries, right? But then we're not so good at the how part. So we want to achieve this thing. We want to start this new hobby. We want to finish this. We want to clean that. We want to do that. But we don't know where to start. We struggle starting. I am so proud of the fact that we are on episode 35. Why am I so proud of that? Here's a relatable example. Each one of these podcast episodes in itself is a project. So in my mind, it's just one task: record podcast. Even though I've done this literally 34 other times, it always startles me how many steps we have to do. We have to set up the studio in a certain way. We have to get a certain program open. We have to set up the microphone. We have to figure out what the episode topic is going to be. What are the talking points? What resources are we going to share? Connect into the fiber internet. Make sure that I change into the outfit I want to wear. There's all these different things I have to do. Now, you may not be recording podcasts, but I'm sure there's something that you can think of. One universal one that comes to my mind is clean the garage. We think in our mind, like, I just have to clean out the garage. But really, there's so much more to it than that. So just as for me recording the podcast, I have to set up the standing desk, put the lighting on, make sure that my drink is full, all these different things. For cleaning the garage, it's not just clean garage. It's back the vehicles out, sweep out the garage, use the leaf blower to blow out any dust. Then it's pick up all of the things that are on the floor, organize them. Do we want to give this away? Do we want to keep this? Do we want to donate it? Should we put shelving units up? So we should put these things here. Do the kids really need these toys, or should we get rid of those? Like, there's so many things to think about. So then what do? We just run up to the task, look at it and go, no, thanks, and run away because it just looks too overwhelming. Can anyone relate? Comment below if you can relate to this. Type the word garage if you can relate. Well, if it helps to make you feel even a little bit better, there is a reason why this happens, and it has to do with science. It's our brains. It's the way that our brains are wired because we have executive dysfunction due to our ADHD. What does that mean? I'm so glad that you asked. Some of the things that we struggle with when it comes to executive dysfunction include sequencing, prioritization, and working memory. Then there's also all the other factors that are baked in to our unique challenges, such as the anxiety of not being good enough, or the perfectionism of knowing if we're going to do it, we have to do it really well. So I may as well not even start, because if I'm going to start, then I have to make it look really good. I have to make it a certain way. I want to get so many views. Oh my gosh, why aren't people watching it? And so on and so forth. So this is where we really have to embrace the mentality right at the starting line of good is good enough. Because many times, and I'm wondering if you can relate to this, comment below if you do, that just getting started is the hardest part. And then once you get started and you build the momentum, it's easy. It's easier than you thought. And dare I say, even a little fun. One concept that I tell my clients about pretty often is don't be afraid to have a crappy first draft. A concept that I have embraced myself and I often tell my clients is just embrace that crappy first draft. In other words, just know that this first one won't be perfect and just do it anyway. And then you'll realize, you know what? This isn't as bad as I thought. I can use this as the first draft. The next tip is easier said than done, but it makes so much sense when you think about it. Reverse engineering. In other words, and this is really powerful whenever I do this, it's think about when is the deadline that we have to have this done by? Then start thinking about what is the list of all of the things that need to happen in order for me to consider this done. What does done look like? Then you can set out the milestones. So, in other words, what steps do I have to get done to reach the finish line? And what order do I want to put those in? So, in other words, find the finish line. What does done look like? Work back, list out all the steps, and then put them in the order that make the most sense. And then figure out, okay, how much time do I have to reach each of these checkpoints, if you will? And when do I need to get started? Because that's usually the moment where I realize, ooh, I'm going to need a lot more resources or I'm going to have to ask for help on something on here. And that helps us to then build out an actual plan to attack the project. One of the things that was something that was easily one of the biggest struggles of my time in corporate was long term project planning. Specifically, when it comes to sales, we'd be trying to land an enterprise level account. In my mind, it involved doing the presentation, first finding the person or the organization that I would be pitching my solution to, determine what their challenges are and if we might be a good fit. Then, what immediately comes to my mind when I think of my own challenges with project planning and long term planning is enterprise level sales. So, for many years in my career, I was a salesperson for organizations that could sell solutions that would help huge problems. So, in hindsight, I realized I should have looked for something that was much more transactional, like a shorter sales cycle, because I really struggled to see the long term pieces of the puzzle that were needed to get each one of these prospects to the finish line. Because we as ADHDers, we do much better as sprinters. We are sprinters, we are not marathoners. Uh, Spoiler alert and good news, we can take a marathon and break it into 26, for 26.2 miles. We can break it into 26 little sprints. You wouldn't sprint for a mile, but you get my point. And so what I would have done differently in those enterprise sales roles is found a visual way to map out what's needed for each of these prospects, these potential buyers, and then have a way to visually track that. All right, so I wanted to make this visual because we think of this middle part, the square. And for those of you who are listening, I have a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper with a square in the middle that says project. Many times this could be like, let's take the clean the garage. So this could just be clean garage is in the middle, but now there's actually little side quests, if you will, other tasks, other pieces of the project that we have to get done in order to consider this whole thing as completed. So figure out what order do things need to be done in, or maybe they don't need to be done in a certain order. They just all need to get done. And if you make it more visual, then you can figure out what needs to happen. Because I think one of the biggest struggles for those of us with ADHD is when we try to keep it in our head, that's where we struggle to figure out where do we even start. So going back to my enterprise sales example, let's say that I had 5 accounts that I was trying to sell into. If I know that those 5 accounts are each of themselves a project, what I think would have been a great idea for me is to have one of my goals for each working day is to move at least one of those projects just a little bit further, like take action on one task from each of those 5 projects. So I'm just wondering for you, are there certain buckets, certain categories of your life that there's regularly things you're trying to work on? Well, what could you do to break those down into certain categories And then what are the tasks or subtasks underneath that? I would love to know if this is resonating because just talking it out is really helping me to see what I've been missing. But I know a lot of my clients struggle with this too. So that's why I put this episode out there. One of the most important ingredients to our effectiveness as people with ADHD is to have someone else to check in with. So at work, that might be a manager. At home, that could be a partner. Or maybe it's a passion project and you and your friend are working on something together. But if you do need help finding an accountability partner, this is where I would just urge you to check out the Ryan Mayer Coaching digital community. You can see in the show notes. You can also look on my social media profiles. That'll have the steps on how you can join. You can join totally for free, and there's so many benefits, including, and one of the most powerful ones is having an accountability group where you could say, hey, is anybody available right now? I just want to jump into this project and I'm struggling getting started. We have people from literally all around the world that would say, yes, I'm struggling too. Okay, so if we know how to do this, then what are some of the reasons why we don't? So in addition to how our brain is wired, here are some of the things that we might find stumbling blocks instead of milestones. The first is doing too much too soon. In other words, that would be like me if I wanted to write a book. I would design the cover and make it all perfect before I even wrote a chapter. That wouldn't make sense. Maybe that should come later, right? So what about you? Do you ever overanalyze or just go down a rabbit hole? Why does it always have to be rabbits, by the way? Too much too soon. Good is good enough. So if you find that you're getting stuck on some details, don't worry about it. You'll come back to it later. Let's move on to the next thing. The next thing in this case is delegation. So in the book Traction, there is this. In the book Traction, there is this principle, this concept that I know a lot of others have talked about too, which is delegate to elevate. So in order to elevate your game, delegate the things that you might not be good at. And people want to help. So ask your family members, ask colleagues at work or people that are on the project team to work on some of the things. I know, for example, I could not get these podcasts out to the world without my team. They are incredible. The marketing team, the editing team, and everyone else who is working on this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So my question to you, the listener, the viewer, is what are some things you might be able to delegate to make your projects just a little bit less stressful? If we want to take the garage example, maybe you could ask your kids to use the leaf blower to blow the dust and the cobwebs and stuff out of the garage so you don't have to do it. Here's another one. Deadlines. If we don't have a sense of urgency, it's simply not going to happen. So if you want your projects to get finished and you keep getting stalled, maybe it's because you never set a deadline. So once you set a deadline, even if it's just for one of those incremental milestone steps, that's going to help you to make momentum happen. Once you get progress started, momentum follows, and that's where the magic happens. These topics are such common struggles that I know my clients and myself deal with all the time. And that's why we've actually written some blogs on topics that are related to this. Check out one of our blogs, which is the Frameworks for Success, Task Prioritization Strategies. And another blog that we wrote is How to Create Clear Goals That Stick. So remember, projects are not just one line that you can check off. They're not a task. Projects themselves are made up of more tasks. And I'm unfolding the paper to show you there's lots of tasks and milestones that you need to check off on your way to the finish line. Nothing's going to get done in one leap. It's a series of small, simple steps. And what really needs to happen is just to get started. Embrace the messiness, embrace the imperfection, because really the magic is in starting messy. Then set checkpoints, bring in accountability partners, and have a deadline. And that's the magic formula. It's also important to remember that tools and community make all of this easier. So don't try to do it by yourself. You don't have to. All right, I've got a suggestion for you. If this episode resonated with you, comment below or send us a message about one project that you're going to start working on that maybe you've neglected for a while and the 3 steps that you can start with. And again, a loving reminder to visit my website, ryanmayercoaching.com. And again, a loving reminder to go to ryanmayercoaching.com/free guide to get that resource that I mentioned earlier, as well as join our free digital community. There's hundreds of us that are ready to join you in your quest for success. And there in our community on Patreon, that's where you'll be able to tap into that accountability, the community, the support, the coaching resources that are designed for brains like ours. If you're not already connected with us on all the socials, please take a minute to do that as well. For example, I'm honored to say that I'm one of the top voices on LinkedIn in this area of ADHD and neuroinclusion. We're also on Instagram, TikTok, obviously here on YouTube. And as always, please know that I am in this with you. I love you. You are more than your ADHD. Let's keep conquering together.